Take your time, so well, I'm gonna make you smile when you realize that I got my side. Might take a while just to try to figure out what all this is for. Pinch me, 'cause I'm still asleep. Please, God, tell me that I'm still asleep.
Welcome back, one and all. We are back once again with the BTW podcast, and it's been a huge week with the Grand Showcase, Devastation returning, Primetime coming back, and I'm here to cover it all with my best friends, or at least the two people who I pretend to like the most. Brandon Mackey, live from Canada, from the frozen tundra, and Adam Ryan, live from the Special People's Corner. What's going on, guys?
Got my polar bear right next to me. Life is good.
I don't think I'm allowed to make joke about special people.
Yeah, you're right. I was probably...
Oh, now you've done it.
Oh, God. Now
this whole show is going to be very uncomfortable for you.
So, guys,
you guys know Ryan's taking his girlfriend to her high school prom? He's taking the company van. He has to sign her out for the day, though. And they're going to go for happy after. It's going to be a really good time.
They'll know when Ryan pulls up because they'll hear the bell going.
Can we just get it over with? Come on. Write it in.
Oh, God. Okay, no, that's it. I promise. We do have a lot of action to talk about, guys. We had Showcase. What's up?
I just said I don't promise.
Oh, okay. So we did have Showcase, guys. That was a huge show. There was a lot of matches there. Let's just, cause I know we had a lot that happened this week, and I know we kinda have to talk about it here. Obviously, it was a showcase, but we're gonna talk about the fallout from it. But what were just some of your favorite moments? We had Jason Silva retaining against Dez. We had Zach Murphy and Kevin Ralston. We had the ladder match with Masterson and Cal. We had the Shadow Warriors winning the tag team titles. We had the women. Just overall, what were your thoughts on how the showcase went coming back from BTW, starting with Brandon?
I thought it was a top to bottom great display of pageantry and showmanship and just wrestling ability. Absolutely great show. Kept me entertained from beginning to end. If I had to pick a favorite moment, I would probably say Cal going over Masterson. Just to see him finally get his swan song and his big moment on the big stage, that was just phenomenal.
And Ryan, we also had Shane Black, Dave Shirai. Keep that in mind too. That was a great match. But overall, what was your favorite moment?
I mean, it's the Grand Showcase for a reason. It's the grandest show of them all. But my favorite moment probably had to be what opened up the main show, the Shadow Warriors going over and just bringing in that gold. And man, that was just an entertaining match from start to finish. And that just set the pace tremendously for the Grand Showcase.
Yeah, there was a lot of history made at the Grand Showcase. I kind of have to lean toward the main event. Jason Silva being the first man to successfully defend the BTW championship at the showcase. I think that lent a lot of credibility to his reign. A lot of people thought, he's only champion because he hasn't had to defend it in 7 months yet. But I think he went out there and I mean, Dez, you can't deny that Dez came to play. The lead up to the show, the night of the show, there was nobody that was going to give Jason Silva a harder fight than Dez, and Jason Silva came out on top against him. So, I think I have to pick that. But, I mean, obviously, guys, Grand Showcase, we could talk about Grand Showcase for the next 4 hours if we wanted to. But I think what we really need to do is to just start talking about everything else that's going on this week, because ultimately everything is coming from the Grand Showcase. And we'll start, guys, with Primetime making its way back in Las Vegas. It was actually, that took place, it was either earlier today or yesterday, depending on when the show is released. But it was a huge night, starting, of course, with Jay Blaze versus Raven Ryder. And this match, it looked like it was going to be a classic. It was going to go down in the books as one of the best matches to ever happen on Primetime. But midway through, we had the man who always seems to make his mark, TB2, walk down to the ramp just completely unprovoked. And while Jay Blaze left the ring, TB2 then attacked Raven Ryder with a bat wrapped in barbed wire. It looked like he might have broken both her legs, guys. It was not pretty. She had to be carried out, was not responsive all the way out. And we're just not even sure at this point if Raven Ryder's ever going to be coming back. So, what did you take away all in all from the events that transpired there? I
just think TB2 is a spineless, gutless little weasel. attacking a girl like that after a match, especially with a weapon on hand. To me, this whole hardcore thing that he does is a substitute for having no talent whatsoever. He's got to get your attention somehow. No respect for TB2. It was just absolutely despicable. Makes me sick to my stomach.
Ryan.
I mean, I have to agree with you completely. It makes me sick to my stomach, but I mean, it wasn't even about respect. It's about just making a statement with TB2. He's not out here to kiss babies and shake hands. He's about making a name for himself. And I mean, obviously he has a name, but he's ready to make a name that's not Blaze. He's ready to be known as his own man, and he's going to do whatever it takes, and I think he showed that here by attacking Raven.
Yeah, except through sheer wrestling ability. The guy has no talent, so he makes up for it by doing stupid things. He's a clown. He's an attention whore.
I think both of you bring up good points, but I think the one thing that we need to bring up is that Raven doesn't exactly make friends anywhere she goes. She does nothing but draw negative attention to herself, and even though she's a fan favorite, the fans seem to really respond to that sort of, can do anything, fuck you attitude. Raven pisses a lot of people off every time she talks, and I think it was only a matter of time before someone, now, whether or not she actually did anything to instigate this attack by TB2, I think TB2 would probably attack anyone with a pulse at this point, to Brandon's point, but yeah, I think it was only a matter of time before something like that happened to Raven, and at this point, I'm just not ever sure if we're ever going to see her in BTW again. So that match didn't get a result. The next match, however, did get a result. This was a classic. Big T versus Kent Von Eichenberg. They let their actions do the talking in the ring. They went out there. It was a sheer battle of force and raw strength. And it ended up Big T planning Kent Von Eichenberg with the big ending, but that was not enough to put him away. At that point, Big T signaled Max Chaos to come out. He was going to have them attack KVE for him, and then reinforcements arrived. Out come the Shadow Warriors. They drove Max Chaos from the ring. When Big T tried to retreat, Jason Silva would make an appearance, super kick him, and then in the final climactic moment, guys, one of the most chaotic scenes that we've ever seen in BTW and in prime time in general, with KVE suplexing Big T from the top rope. The ring completely collapsed. It was utterly destroyed. Wraps, corner posts, the ropes, the mat, the apron, everything into a pile of rubble. Eric King was distraught, to say the least, but the referee, noticing that KVE landed on top of Big T, went ahead and counted the three. KVE was declared the winner, but the ring was absolutely destroyed, guys, and that, Brandon, that was nuts.
For sure. It was an absolute clash of the titans. Exciting from beginning to end. Like you said, just power versus power, brute strength versus brute strength. And it was amazing to see KVE come out on top, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a match that's talked about for a long time.
Definitely. I mean, this match literally brought the house down. I mean, just brute strength going one-on-one. It was just, it was tremendous to watch. It was a spectacle, and it's going to go down as probably one of the greatest matches in primetime history.
Let's talk real quick, guys, about signature moments in BTW. I think the ring coming down beneath them on that suplex may be one of the moments that's talked about in BTW lore. What other moments would you guys rank up there with that you can remember off the top of your head?
Well, I don't know how we can start this with anything other than Kevin Ralston's double cross at the Grand Showcase against Jason Masterson when he had the Anomaly storm the ring, take out Masterson, and win the match for him. That to me, when you think of shocking moments in BTW, that's at the top of the list.
I mean, instantly, just a couple come to mind. One of them is Zach Murphy burying Jason Masterson alive to win, and that was just one of those moments where once you saw it happen, it just left you in awe, and it was just a spectacle of it all.
And what about Christopher Andrews lighting Kevin Green on fire on Levolution?
And didn't y'all say last time that someone literally got shot in the face?
Yeah, so Levolution is kind of its own brand when it comes to shocking moments. We've seen the nature
it's
of
like
domination.
The redheaded stepchild of
Yeah. The nature of domination was systematically shot in the head on live television. Who was it that TB2 chopped his wiener off at some point? Somebody that was in the RWO, I think, and TB2 chopped his wiener off. Can't remember who it was because all you remember is the wiener.
It's with the weed eater, wasn't it?
I think it might have been, but I try not to remember that. But yeah, and obviously the match was great. Two legends and Hall of Famers going at it, but the ring collapsing, definitely one of the biggest moments in BTW. And that led to, we had the main event, right? We had King Desmond and we had the Hero from Hell, Kevin Ralston, going one-on-one, but they didn't have a ring to perform in. Desmond went out to the parking lot. He said, fuck that, basically. We're gonna have this fight. He challenged Ralston. He came out. It was like the scene in Troy where Achilles went to the gates and screamed for Hector until he came out and fought him. And it really was just as epic as that fight, guys. It was a street fight that went through the hallways of the arena, back into the kitchen, through a glass window. At one point, Desmond threw Kevin Ralston through a glass window, and Ralston was able to recover from that. Ralston put Desmond through a table. They battled back to the parking lot. Ralston ended up planting Desmond with a heart of ice on the hood of a car. He was not done there. He pulled Desmond to the top of the car. He then climbed to the top of a 13-foot tractor trailer and landed a frog splash. Both men were unconscious, but again, since Kevin Ralston was the last man on top, the referee counted the three, and a show of respect at the end as they shook hands before both men were willingly carried away in ambulances. So, guys, another classic event at the end of primetime. What are your thoughts there?
Those guys are both warriors, and I think King Desmond really established himself as a dominant force in BTW. Even though he lost at the Grand Showcase and he lost to Ralston on prime time, you got to respect the way this guy hangs in there. It's not like he's losing these matches decisively. He is hanging in there to the very end, and they're both fights that could have gone either way. So major props to Desmond, but also a great win by Ralston.
And Ron, what was going through your head when Kevin climbed that tractor trailer 13 foot high and leapt down for a splash on top of that car?
Someone call BTW management, because they're going to have to find a replacement for Kevin Ralston in that chamber match, because he's literally about to kill himself. But no, that match just, as soon as you saw Desmond out in the parking lot just yelling for Ralston, you knew instantly, like, this is about to be good. And just the brawl, the fight, all of it was just amazing. Left me in all primetime, just delivering on all cylinders this week, and I can't wait to see it again. But yes, Kevin Ralston and Desmond, holy crap, are you okay?
And it was also announced, guys, before we move on, big announcement in the middle of the show, that Matt and Jeff Hardy had signed a one-match agreement with BTW, and they're going to honor that before going full-time with WWE. They're going to be taking on next week the Shadow Warriors, challenging for BTW's tag team titles. So are we ready for that match?
How could you not be? That's amazing. That's one of the most exciting things in the history of BTW.
It's going to be delightful.
Ryan,
maybe the Hardys will delete the Shadow Warriors as they fade into be obsolete.
I'm going to delete you from this call if you continue that awful Matt Hardy impersonation.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, I think that's what he was going for.
No, I think I just snorted crack before this.
Hey, Ryan, so we're about to talk about Devastation, of which Ralston,
more like snorting
Dez,
pixie sticks with your girlfriend.
Of which everyone on Prime Style was involved, Ryan. Would you like to lead us into Devastation with a dad joke?
What? Hold up. I got this. What is the leading cause of dry skin?
What?
Towels.
Fuck.
I think I lost sight in my right eye.
Why your right eye? Hold on a second now.
What is the matter with you? What goes through your brain?
I honestly think it's just a hamster on a wheel.
And cats playing with yarn and like play place at McDonald's. Like
Ryan, when I'm looking at you and Brandon on the Skype screen, you're actually on the right, so I think that's why his right eye went numb.
Oh, Jesus!
So moving on to Devastation, guys. Devastation is back. It was a loaded show. We're going to hit the high points here. We started off with the number one contenders match for the BTW Tag Team Championships. It was Jackson Ellis and Zach and Jax, as they're known, against RX. It ended with Ellis, great teamwork from Ellis and Zach, and Ellis had an X Factor on Blade, leading to Zach and Jax coming the number one contenders. But following that, we'll discuss that in the moment. Following that, however, a brawl would break out after Zach Murphy sprayed champagne all over TJ Shadows. The Shadow Warriors would get their revenge, laying out Zach and Jax. More craziness after that as a masked man attacked RX, with Ben Anderson returning to BTW. Later in the night, Anderson would reveal that his partner was Braxton Holt. They were bringing the Filth team back to the tag team division. And guys, this is something that BTW was really lacking when they closed a few months ago. It looks like we have several talented tag teams ready to bring the tag team division back.
I don't see any tag team more dangerous than Zach and Jax. Those are two Hall of Fame caliber wrestlers banding together. That's nuts. Even with a team as powerful as the Shadow Warriors, like the tag team division finally has some depth. That's amazing, but I think the division runs through Zach Murphy and Jackson Ellis.
Whenever Zach Murphy turned, I thought he just had one too many drinks and hit the wrong guy at first. But this week, it's shown to me that no, he's serious. And one thing you don't want is a ticked off VIP. And him teaming with one of the most dangerous men in BTW history, Jackson Ellis, I'm scared for the tag team division. Yeah, you can bring back all the names you can and you can have as many as you want, but whenever you just have that type of domination at the top, but your champions are the Shadow Warriors, do not forget who's holding the gold.
Yeah, and there's going to be an 8-man tag team match on BTW Devastation next week. It's going to kind of highlight all of this. But we got two separate kind of rivalries going on, right? We got Zach and Jax going on for the tag team titles against the Shadow Warriors. Then we have RX seeking retribution against Braxton Holt and Ben Anderson. So we got a couple of great angles there, and I can't wait to see exactly where they run from here. Later in the night, it was a distraction by VTech attacking DC that would lead to the newcomer Chris Mullins hitting his payday running boot on Jay Blaze and defeating him. This is a continued escalating situation with these four men. Following the match, however, there would be a fifth added to the mix as Zach Zero, who's a legend in other E-Feds, came to BTW and debuted. He seems to be on the side of VTech. He held DC as VTech ran his mouth and then challenged DC to a match on Devastation next week. So, guys, I think the central theme here is we have a lot of guys that are huge, like absolutely just huge, remarkable names in other feds coming here to BTW where they've never done a thing. But it looks like they are here and they're here to make a name for themselves in the biggest fed on Facebook.
This is the big leagues, man. This is where the big dogs run. It's where the big boys play. Every big analogy you can make. This is BTW. It's the big time wrestling. So it's good to see new blood coming in and injecting new life into the place. And if you can make an impact here, you can make an impact anywhere. So good on them.
I mean, solid point. If you can make a big impact here, then you've made the big impact. But at what cost? Because right now, look at the people they're trying to attack. Is that really the people that you really want to make mad in BTW? We'll see next week.
Yeah, and it seems like, so we have Shane Black, who seems to have made it his point to just completely obliterate any of the quote-unquote indie guys that come into BTW. He doesn't want any part of them, and there's a part of our fan base who may think that way as well. But the way he's going about it, I just can't approve of. You know, if you have a problem with it, that's fine. But he allowed Jen Kaze to be obliterated by Chris Mullins and VTech last week just to prove a point. And then when he was challenged to a straight up fight by Quinn Damon in the backstage segment this week, he walked away. So it seems like Shane Black, sure, maybe his motives are his motives, but he doesn't seem to be going the right way about it. But I'm excited. I mean, you know, what E-Feder, regardless of how you feel about him or if you've ever actually interacted with him, what E-Feder has not heard the name VTech? And it's just, it's nuts to see him. It's kind of a bad analogy, but it's kind of like Goldberg or Sting finally showing up in WWE. It's kind of like this guy that you've heard of but you've never seen, and then he just comes and shows up. So I don't know. It's a cool feeling, to see all these guys finally come into BTW where they know that if you can make it here, like you said, they can really establish their legend. Moving on in the night, we did have a one-on-one match between Will Wagner and Carson Callahan. They're part of that loaded hardcore division, which we'll discuss a little more later. It did end up in a surprising victory as Carson Callahan upset the hardcore icon Will Wagner. Will Wagner didn't really seem to fit well with the result, and he began to chase Carson Callahan through the arena like a game of cat and mouse. It's almost like you can almost hear that music. So they would make an appearance again later in the night. We'll come back to them but that was the result of the actual match, is Carson upsetting Will Wagner. After that, something I wanted to touch on real quick. There was a lot of action in the office of Jade Rivers. He made a four-way women's match next week for number one contendership of the women's title since Future had to leave. He had a discussion with the Freeman Force. He told Dave Shirai and Cal that they would be booked next week. But then Blaze came in and he made like a cryptic statement about BTW having a big change coming next week regarding some of the new talents in BTW. So, Brandon, where do you think that announcement might be headed?
Well, we've seen in the past that Tony Blaze is a wild card. He will do whatever it takes to get what he wants by any means necessary. We saw it at the Grand Showcase, and we've seen it since BTW's inception. So it really could mean anything.
Honestly, I mean, it says, there's a changes coming to BTW. I think it's you two getting fired for going against him at Grand Showcase, and I'm going to become the head of this. But in all seriousness, I have to agree with Brandon, because there's no telling knowing Tony Blaze, because this is his little world. It's in the palm of his hand, and he can do whatever he wants. And new talent, I'm excited to see what happens.
So a little bit later on, guys, actually earlier in the night, before all of that happened, we saw Dez walk by DJK's dressing room. He ran into someone who was very upset that DJK had basically berated her for having the wrong suit. Dez seemed to enjoy the suit. He took it, he put it on, he then locked DJK in his dressing room. DJK was live tweeting during that scenario in his underwear, asking for help, wanting someone to come let him out of there. Dez then went out, he took over DJK TV, and in a very entertaining interview with Misbehavior and Faith, DJK would eventually escape. He came out, got the upper hand on Dez and knocked him out, took the internet title, but it was not over yet. He then went out to the parking lot. He was about to leave, and all of a sudden he sees his own vehicle flying at him. He dives out of the way. He drops his title. Out pops Dez from the car and steals it and tears back out of the parking lot. It was fucking, and then DJK is obviously just absolutely distraught, going nuts in the parking lot. So, I mean, where are we at with this, guys? I mean, it's a battle of one-upsmanship, but right now it seems like Dez has the upper hand in the mind games with DJK.
Oh, Dez is living inside DJK's head. He has him totally under his thumb. Dez is winning the mental game right now, and that's a huge part of winning the actual physical battle.
Hey, I mean, this is just fun to watch. Just all of it through and through. I mean, whenever you think DJK finally has his redemption, then here comes Dez again. And you just kind of laugh at it. And like Brandon said, Dez is just winning this mental battle, but at the same time, at what cost? I mean, you gotta look at the repercussions of it, because DJK is just, he's getting so livid and so frustrated with it all. You don't mess with the man's suit, you really don't mess with the man's show, and you don't take the man's title. DJK is mad.
It was almost two years ago, wasn't it, that we saw DJK literally lift Jason Masterson up with a forklift and drop him in a dumpster. So we definitely know that DJK is no stranger to mind games or to physical warfare. And you're right. I think eventually it's only a matter of time before DJK gets his redemption. And I guess it just, we'll just have to see if that comes at Ultimate Uprising or when that comes. But either way, it's going to be fun.
And all jokes aside,
yeah.
How far is DJK gonna go? Because he does have a mean streak, as much as we like to poke fun at him. And as much as weak as this has made him look, he is still the same vicious SOB that he's always been.
Yeah,
so
ironically, the weaker
it could be tough.
Ironically, the weaker DJK looks, the more dangerous he is, right? Because DJK is not a man who reacts well to having his back up against a wall. He comes out swinging, and he comes out swinging hard. Speaking of swinging hard, guys, in the next match we had fatal 4-way for the Hardcore Championship, and the hardcore angle in BTW is back, and it's really fun to watch. Travis Johnson is actually a surprise member of that. You think of all the guys who are going after this hardcore title, Savior, RJ Grimm, RJ Colbert, Carson Callahan. These guys are just known. You picture them, and you picture them in your head, and you picture blood and weapons. And then you have this handsome son of a gun,
Absolutely.
Travis Johnson, coming in, and all of a sudden he's fighting like he's been doing hardcore matches his whole life. He retains again against Savior, against RJ Grimm, and against RJ Colbert. However, some might say it was only due to outside interference. As during this match, we heard the circus music again. Wagner chased Carson into the ring in the middle of the match. Carson would then be caught and planted by Savior, and that led to a distraction enough that allowed Johnson to attack Savior, pin him, and get the victory. Following that, Wagner, to send a message, would then destroy RJ Colbert, and it looks like Will Wagner has now thrown his hat into the fold to come after Travis Johnson's Hardcore Championship. So, guys, this is a question that was asked from the BTW universe about our thoughts of the growing hardcore division, so we can kind of throw that in here as well. But what are we thinking right now with this guy, Travis Johnson, who, if you look at him, you would never think he was in the hardcore division, but he's making a name for himself,
Yeah.
but he's got some of the biggest names in the company coming after him. What do you think of what's going on right now?
I think it's a ballsy move by the new guy. He's showing some serious guts going up against guys like Savior. At this point, I honestly don't know what to make of it. It could go very well, it could go very bad, but time will tell.
I mean, this hardcore division, can we just call it the Levolution division or what? But no, in all seriousness, like, I mean, it's just go out there, make a name for yourself, kid. It doesn't matter. Like you said, he didn't look like this was what was going to be his cup of tea. But I mean, look at him. He's the champion right now. He's going up against big names, and he's saying, this is my division. I'm running with it. Get behind me. And I'm loving it.
And so let's go back around the table, Brandon. We have the current champion, Travis Johnson, who's on the biggest roll of his life. We have Savior, the original hardcore champion. We've got RJ Grimm, the former hardcore champion. RJ Colbert, who will fly off of anything onto anything. We have Carson Callahan, who has proven himself to be one of the most dangerous men in BTW. And now we have Will Wagner, the man who calls himself the hardcore icon, for fuck's sake, throwing his hat in the ring. So who do you think right now is the biggest threat to Johnson and his winning streak?
I think Savior's experience and his probably psychopathy, I guess, gives him the advantage over everybody else in this match. I'm taking Savior all the way.
I think, honestly, all of them have their own equal stake, but I don't think it matters because Travis Johnson is on cloud 9 right now with that title, and he is just running roughshod over each and every single one of them, and I'm loving it. Again,
I think Carson has the inside track, since all of the other ones lost. Carson Callahan is the only one out of all of them to win on Devastation, and he seems to have embraced the crowd a little bit. Maybe that gives him an advantage that he's never had before. But yeah, so I'll say right now Carson Callahan has the inside track to challenge Travis Johnson. Right after that, guys, we had Kevin Ralston, who was obviously coming off of his loss to Zach Murphy at the Grand Showcase. He needed a way to pick the pieces back up and to show that he was here to be dominant, and he did so with a hard-fought victory over TB2, finishing it with a spear. Didn't even need to break out the Heart of Ice in this one. Was able to spear TB2 hard enough to keep him down for the 3 count. So we got Ralston and TB2 both in the chamber match, and this would not be their only appearance of the night, but what were your thoughts on just this match?
Well, it's not often that we see Kevin Ralston in the match with a spear. That was actually a very interesting little twist that I don't think anybody expected. But this was a good fight. Both guys are vicious in the ring, both willing to do whatever it takes to get what they want. So it was all in all just a really good match. It was really entertaining to watch. But once again, another good win for Kevin Ralston.
I mean, you think about it. Leading up to this, only thing coming out of TB2's mouth was Ralston this, Ralston that. And Ralston, I guess, has had enough of it. He said, if you're going to talk about me? I'm going to show you the real Kevin Ralston. He beat him so bad, like everyone's been saying. He didn't even have to break out the Heart of Ice. He just ended him with the spear and said, that's Kevin Ralston, kid. Now get up and let's get going. I think now TB2 has a taste of what's actually coming his way in this chamber match. And if I'm TB2, I'm rethinking my game plan.
So then in the main event, guys, we had Masterson on the longest losing streak of his career and on a 2-match losing streak to his former pupil, Jason Silva, in another classic match and another hard-fought battle. We saw Masterson come out on top. He did break out the figure 4 leg lock, and he somehow, someway made the BTW champion submit. He ended his losing streak both in general and to Jason Silva, which was obviously great for him, but then he went too far once again, tried to keep Silva in that figure 4 leg lock. Silva would have a guardian angel in Kevin Ralston. I bet you never thought you'd hear that in the same sentence. Come out.
Good Lord.
He'd knock Masterson off of him and stop it. Masterson and Ralston would begin to brawl. After that, TB2 would come from behind Ralston and attack him. TB2 would then turn into natural selection by Masterson. Ralston would then spear Masterson again in half. And right when you thought Ralston had the inside edge to the entire night, Jason Silva pops back up and he repays Kevin Ralston for saving him by kicking his teeth down his throat. So guys, this whole thing, it's almost impossible I think it's safe to say that one of these four at this point has enough momentum to go in and either retain or win the BTW championship in the chamber. But I mean, let's just reset. Where are we now, with these four, with KVE and Big T not really making many statements at this point except for their primetime match? What do we think is the current status of the chamber chase?
I think it's a dead heat between these four competitors. Don't be fooled by the fact that the champ Jason Silva has lost back-to-back matches now. He is the champion for a reason, and he is one of the most resilient men we've ever seen in big-time wrestling. This is going to be the biggest challenge of his career, going against Hall of Famers like Ralston and Masterson and Youngblood and TB2. But don't count out the champ. Don't sleep on the kid. I think Silva still has a very, very good chance of winning this match. But like I said, it's a dead heat. It could come down to any one of those four men.
And Ryan, I think also Silva showed a lot of guile by not going. So I think a lot of us expected when Ralston saved him for maybe Silva to get up, give him the handshake or the hug or the high five, but he gave him a super kick. So it showed a lot of gumption and a lot of guts from the champion to do that as well.
Honestly, with that statement right there, it's Silva saying there's no friends, there's only war. It doesn't matter what you do for Silva right now. He knows that his back is against the wall. I mean, losing 2 straight matches, on Devastation, I think honestly it's going to start getting to him, but it doesn't matter because now Silva is not one to just cower down in fear. He is come back and he's just come out of the corner swinging like you said, Ralston, he saved him, but Silva thanked him with that super kick. But honestly, going back to what Brandon had to say, it is just seeing these four men just go at it. I mean, it's a dead heat with all of them. One week you think this guy's on top, the next week, you might go with the other. It's exciting watching this, and I'm getting very, very excited for the chamber match.
And even just in this night, right, in one night we went from, oh, look, Ralston's got all the momentum, and then all of a sudden we're saying, oh, wait, no, Jason Masterson has the momentum. And then we're saying, oh, no, wait, TB2 just took out Ralston. Wait, let's say maybe TB2. And then, oh, wait, nope, it's Masterson again. Nope, it was freaking nuts. And it's hard to believe that only one of these guys can win at that chamber match. And we have a lot of build-up left before we get to Ultimate Uprising. And who the hell knows? We don't have the card available to us right now. Who the hell knows what's going to happen next week on Devastation? But it's almost guaranteed that whoever you think is the favorite to win the match now, that's probably not going to be your favorite next week. That's about how that's
definitely
going.
Right
oh no, definitely.
So yeah, guys. So that's Devastation. That's the showcase, and that's prime time. We do have a few questions, and then at the end of the show, we'll get to our picks for match of the week, superstar of the week, and all that noise. Right now, here's an interesting question that came from the lounge. I believe this one was from Will. Right now, Brandon, who is the most underrated talent on the roster?
Oh man, that is a tough one because Grand Showcase kind of shifted the landscape of what we're doing here, and it really changed things around. But if I had to pick one, I would still say Dez. Because even though he main evented the Grand Showcase and he's been in the spotlight, he still doesn't quite seem to be getting that respect he deserves, especially on primetime after taking Kevin Ralston to the absolute limit. I mean, both of them got taken off to the hospital after. So I gotta go with Dez.
Honestly, I'm going to have to go with Travis Johnson. I mean, he is your hardcore champion. I mean, it's kind of silly thinking that we look over a champion, but when you look at all the names that he's going up against, sometimes you kind of look over who the current champion is, and I think Travis Johnson deserves a better spotlight on him.
Man, those would probably be my first two picks as well. So first of all, you can both suck my coin purse. Secondly,
get it in there!
Secondly, you know what? I'd probably go with either TJ Shadows or Spike if I had to choose one of them. It seems like with all the tag team action going on right now, we tend to forget that they're both former world champions. And as dominant as Jackson Ellis and Zach Murphy look, I mean, they are going into an absolute war with Shadows and Spike, and I think we all need to remember that. Another super interesting match, and I think this was a question, and I think this also came from Will. Brandon, what is the biggest BTW match to never happen?
Oh boy. We've had so many fantasy matchups happen, right? Like, it's getting to be pretty crazy. Has Silva Murphy happened?
I don't think so.
You stole my freaking, that's what I was gonna say!
I think,
my coin purse!
Oh boy. Go cry to your 15-year-old girlfriend about it.
Murphy. She's 18! Go hump a pancake!
But, no, I definitely, hey, at least humping a pancake's not illegal.
She's not illegal!
Some states.
No, I have to go Silva Murphy, no question.
Silva Murphy, no question. I'm like, next.
So obviously I think one of the big ones that I always think about is, Masterson Matthews. That never came to fruition as a one-on-one match. They were supposed to be in a triple threat a few years ago with DC, and then Matthews had to back out at the last minute. There was just so much unanswered animosity from when Masterson just absolutely tossed Matthews out on his ass. And maybe Matthews got over it rather quickly, because right after that he purchased Evolution and the RWO came, he was a world champion, but I still think that Masterson Matthews, like you talk about, any combination of characters that could absolutely bring the house down, I think Masterson and Matthews is at the top of that list.
Agreed.
So with everyone that we've got debuting in BTW on Devastation this week, Brandon, we've got VTech, we've got Chris Mullins, we've got Zach Zero, we've got all the new ladies that are coming up. We've got Antonio Suarez, who really hasn't made a name for himself yet. But who is the star right now that hasn't been in BTW very long that is most likely to break out in his first year?
VTech, absolutely. I think it's no secret that I've never been the president of his fan club, but you cannot deny how impressive he's been even in his first few days in BTW. Look out for VTech, seriously.
I swear you're looking at my notes or something. Because I was gonna say VTech as well. I mean, he's just, like you were saying, he made a name for himself outside of BTW, and now he's here and he's making an impact. And with that impact, it's only up from here for him. And I'm excited to see where up leads.
I think the obvious answer, if you had asked this question 2 months ago, the obvious answer would probably be Travis Johnson or Dez, but I feel like that's cheating because Dez has reached the main event. Travis Johnson has won the Hardcore Championship and defended it, so I think they've already broken out. Short of those two though, just for not picking B-Tech, I think I'd probably go with Chris Mullins, his partner. He's shown a lot of talent that, I had heard the name, but I'd never seen him perform, myself, and he's showing a lot of talent and a lot of, charisma. So, I'm excited to see where he goes. So here's another final, really interesting question. I can't remember. I think it might have been Connor Hoggard who asked this one. But who, in your mind, Brandon, was the greatest BTW champion of all time?
I don't think there was a BTW champion more dominant, charismatic, and just someone who outright made the title important than Jason Masterson. It's probably an easy pick. I think people look at him as the greatest of all time, and rightfully so. But to me, he is the definitive BTW champion in my mind.
The greatest BTW champ of all time. It's hard to look at the list and just pick one, because I feel like you have just so many great people who define certain eras of the championship.
But you would be a pussy
I can't
for not picking just one.
Suck my coin.
You see, the thing you're overlooking is that someone who doesn't pick just one is gay.
Jesus Christ.
Man, just livid. Y'all don't want me to come back next week, do you?
No, we don't, actually. No,
No, definitely not. Spend your time helping your girlfriend with homework.
Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
I think it's starting to wear off. Maybe. I don't know.
So, Ryan, who
Maybe.
do you think is the greatest BTW champion
No.
of all time?
Do I have to pick?
Yeah, you do.
I mean, yes, Masterson holds the record. I think he holds the record for the longest championship reign right now. It's kind of tossed up in the air with Silva at the moment. There's a little asterisk beside his championship reign. But, I mean, Murphy's the one who ended that reign, and then you got DC Zamcham, who has held it on multiple occasions, and just so many other names. But just to go against Brandon, because I've agreed with him so much, I'm going to say Murphy. I really don't know.
So Masterson had the longest streak. Murphy ended the longest streak. Jackson Ellis may have been the most dominant BTW champion of all time. DJK had the double championship runs. Kevin Ralston main evented the showcase. Every person who's won the BTW championship has some kind of claim. I think I'm going to pick a name who a lot of people, at this point, guys, there's so many new people in BTW, a lot of people may not even know this guy ever existed. But he is the general manager of Primetime. He's the first ever BTW championship, and he is Eric King. I had so much respect for Eric King when he was here performing. As far as his talent, his promo ability, his promo style, and then his in-ring ability. I think there was a good reason that he was the first BTW champion, and I think that if he had been able to stick around, he might have shown that he may have ended up being the greatest BTW champion of all time. It was just the opening moments of BTW were super turbulent, and it was something he felt he couldn't deal with, so he had to leave. But just because I don't want to pick Masterson, I don't want to pick Murphy, I think I'm going to go for a wild card, and I'm going to say Eric King. So guys, that's all of our questions. That's the end of our rundown, but we will close this week by bringing back the Superstar of the Week and our Match of the Week sections. Now, I know that last week I promised that the power rankings would be released. I've been so super clusterfuck busy this week. I have not had, that still will be released, but I'm going to release it in the lounge again.
Long story short, the lazy bastard forgot and just decided not to do it.
Yeah. So for now, we're just going to do the Superstar of the Week and the Match of the Week. Brandon, who do you got?
For me, Superstar of the Week has to be Jason Masterson. I think when you tap out the BTW champion in the main event of our flagship show, it can't go to anyone else. Masterson is definitely Superstar of the Week. As far as Match of the Week goes, I think we're looking at Primetime here, and I'm tempted to say Big T and KVE just for the ending of that match, but I think I have to go with Ralston and Desmond. It was just such a spur-of-the-moment thing where a match turned into a street fight, and they both gave it their all. Both collapsed at the end of their match, had absolutely nothing left. So kudos to those two guys. They get my Match of the Week.
For me, the Superstar of the Week, I'm going to go with Kevin Ralston, because he picks up not one, but 2 victories against 2 very game opponents this week against Desmond and TB2. So, I mean, you got to give it to Ralston there, just picking up those wins. Match of the week, I am actually going to go with Big T versus KVE because, I mean, that's just one you're going to look at, and that's going to be in the back of your mind for forever. Whenever people say, hey, do you like BTW? And they'll be like, yeah, that mean the place that had a Big T and Kent Von Eichenberg? Yeah. Where the ring collapsed? Yeah.
So Superstar of the Week, actually, Ralston was my first pick, but since he's already been chosen, fuck you, Ron. Suck on my coin purse.
My coin purse.
Since he's already been chosen, I'll probably go with with Chris Mullins. He was super impressive in his victory over Jay Blaze, and it seems like he's got a bright future ahead of him. The match of the week, yeah, I'm gonna go with Ralston and Desmond too. Perfectly, up front here, that match was super fun to book. And it was really fun to watch, and it just showed that BTW, it's everything that BTW is about. It's the characters, it's the promos, it is the build up, it's the matches, it's the writing, it's the booking, everything was perfect about that match, and I don't think it could have gone better. So guys, we're done for this week, man. Did we miss anything that you guys want to finish up on?
Ryan likes underage girls.
Jesus Christ. Ron, did you have anything that you would like to finish up on besides your girlfriend's chest?
She's 18, I swear.
Ron, first of all, it's never good when you say, she's 18, and your voice cracks when it happens. Police aren't going to believe that for a second. Now you're Tarzan. Me Tarzan, you Jane. Me believe you fake ID. You 18.
Me believe I go to jail. I'm not beyond next week. I'm in prison.
Imagine Ron in a loincloth in prison. He looks behind him, and there's a gorilla staring at him. You're like, you look very pretty.
This is degrading.
Yeah, this is escalating quickly. So guys, thank you so much for joining us this week on the BTW podcast. Brandon and Ryan, I'm Jade Lowe. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Shalom.
Take Lego!